my God, I'm so excited. This is our first kind of episode of Good Morgan America. So the current idea we have for the format is Ask Me Anything.
This is so crazy because, like, I watch your videos and here you are, you're a real person.
So are you.
Hi.
Hi.
So I am a reformed people pleaser or reforming people pleaser. I'm working on turning a new leaf.
Yeah.
And one of the things that I started recently was taking antidepressants, and I feel like that has helped me in that regard, like kind of stepping back from the anxiety that was kind of, I feel like leading me towards people pleasing. Like if I do all the things for you, then you will love me and I don't have to, do all the other things. And my husband's having a little bit of trouble with that, me not being quite so, like, I've always been very hands-on, let me do everything for you, and now I'm not. And I know that there's going to be some growing pains in this, but I'm just having a little bit of a hard time managing that. We have 3 kids and I'm a stay-at-home mom, so I deal with a lot every day. And so I'm just not sure. Like, he's great at communication. We're working on it. I watch your videos a lot.
Thank you.
And so I'm just kind of looking for maybe a little bit of input on like how to, as a reforming people pleaser, how to navigate that. Because I do love, like, I love to serve, I love to give, but I also need to give onto myself and not just others.
I'm so excited that you're doing that.
Thank you. It's been a long time coming.
Yeah. Oh God. It's also it's like almost like a drug withdrawal process.
Yeah.
Where
100%.
there's this yo-yo feeling of, like, a lot of people when you're recovering from people pleasing, this is what I typically see. You spend the majority of your life or your relationship going, my needs don't matter. I don't have any desires. I'm the perfect person because I put myself last. So I'm amazing. And what you do through that is you're constantly attuning to the other person and figuring out what they want and who they need and all this stuff. But you resent them for that because you resent them to the level that you sacrifice yourself. There's a difference between sacrificing and giving. Sacrificing is removing yourself and becoming whoever they want you to be. But you resent them for that. So then what I tend to see is a pendulum swing to the other side. And your next step, like the second step of recovering from people pleasing, tends to be pretty aggressive. Like, I will not do that. And you shouldn't ask for this. And I can't believe you let me do this long. How did you not notice? You should know, there's like this whole aggressive swing to the other side. And then you start to kind of move to the middle where actual healthy boundaries are, which sounds like where you're sliding into now.
Yeah.
And there is where I'm a huge, especially if you're a good communicator already, my 2 go-to things that I say as recovering people pleaser and work with recovering people pleasers around, I'd rather you trust me forever than like me right now. So it's scary to say this, but truth. And the reverse of that. I'd rather trust you forever than like you right now. So I want to know the truth. I'm going to probably be mad about it, but then I'm going to be so grateful. And the other one is resentment. So I check in and I go, will I resent you if I do this? And then I will say, I'm going to resent you if I do this. If I do this, I will resent you. And I care about us being together and loving each other more than I care about pleasing you right now. So checking in with, is this a sacrifice or is this a give? And then saying it out loud. Sometimes changes it from a sacrifice to give. So I'll be like, fine, I'll walk the dogs. I'm going to resent you if I do this right now. Oh, well, never mind. Now I won't. Yeah, like immediately, because I was allowed to be pissed about it. Yeah. A lot of the thing that comes with people pleasing is I don't feel allowed to have the feeling I have. So I'm mad at you because not only do I have to do the thing you want me to do, I also have to be happy about it. Screw you for that. But those 2 things tied together. I'd rather trust you forever than like you right now. I'd rather you trust me forever than like me right now. That allows you to have negative feelings. And being able to say, I'll resent you if I do this, and your partner doesn't run away and goes, okay, thanks for telling me. And you make that the MO. Thanks for telling me. Now the negative feeling is allowed. And when your negative feelings are allowed, suddenly everything starts to like get flowier.
I love that.
Is that helpful?
Yes, super helpful. Thank you so much.
Okay, you're welcome. It's so good to meet you.
Nice to meet you too.
Okay, so I
feel like I'm like right on the heels of those first two questions, and you
Mm.
kind of sort of almost answered them. But for those of us who've been married, we've been married for 36 years. But for those of us who've been married for 20, 25, 30, 35 years, and we are like locked into some pretty deeply entrenched patterns. Um, what's your best advice? I know you kind of already answered this. How do we figure out how, like, in that moment, because it comes up fast, it's so quick,
Mhm.
and I'm triggered and I trigger him, and then we're off to the races, so to speak.
Mhm.
And I don't want to say we're just stuck in these old patterns because we have choice, but it happens very, very quickly. And I think we're both surprised it's still happening. We've been doing this with you for a while. And I mean, we're very, very committed. Um, and yet there's a lot of history there.
Yeah.
What's the best advice? Like in the moment when this happens and we like lock horns.
Uh-huh. You said I already started to answer it. What are the things you think already apply?
First of all, I like that so much. I've heard you say it before. I want you to trust me forever rather than like me right now.
Yeah.
I think for me, it's going ahead and saying what I need to say, knowing it might not land well.
Mm.
Um, the other thing I'm thinking is breaks. I'm not good at breaks. Like, let's tackle this. I want to tackle this now.
Well, Michael's like, ah.
Let's go. Oh God, oh God, oh God, oh God. Oh,
Mhm.
and we know what's happening.
Yeah. Okay. I've said this to you, but I don't think I've said it publicly, which is when you're going, especially if you've been together for a long time, you're doing two things at one time. You're getting a divorce and you're creating a new marriage. And those things are overlapping. So it's very confusing to your system because you're deliberately rejecting the way it used to be and also deliberately creating a new way. So then when the old stuff pops up, it is terrifying because you're like, oh no, are we stuck here forever? Are we stuck here forever? And the thing I focus on is shortening, not even shortening the gap, letting the gap naturally shorten. So you cannot choose your first response. You can choose your second. You're going to immediately knee jerk respond to your partner the same way you have for the last however long. But then you'll notice, especially you will notice, and then coming back and going, I don't like how I did that. I wish I had done it like this. Can we try it like this? As a like a redo. It's not that you're throwing out what you just did completely because you can't, but you are giving each other another chance. And the more you do that, the safer you'll feel because now you don't feel doomed. You don't feel like your partner is saying what you did first is the only thing that counts. And so now you've got the freedom to change and you're giving each other the freedom to change. And that gap will naturally get shorter the safer you feel until now this starts to be the first response more and more often. That's another thing that helps you feel safer is being allowed to pause. If you're the person who's bad at pausing, the point of the pause is actually to prove to yourself you're safe during a pause. We will return. And if you're the partner of a partner, so I'm going to use me and Dan because I'm the one who doesn't like a pause. So for me, I was like, we're not pausing. You're leaving. If you leave this conversation, that feels like you're leaving me and you don't care enough to stick it out and you don't care enough to go through the mess with me. And that's not okay with me. And I will not accept that. So you just you know what? You don't even need to talk. I'll talk for you. I think I can read your mind. So I'm saying my side and his side and my side. And he's like totally shut down. And what I started to do with our breaks was whatever the argument was, I wanted to prove to myself we were still safe if we took a pause. And part of that was coming back to the conversation. But in that timeout, it was my goal in this timeout is not to figure out anything about this fight. It's to teach myself I'm still safe and this relationship's still safe while we're in the pause. And that has helped a lot. It has made our time out shorter because there's less pressure around them, and they're a place of safety for both of us. Those are the two things I wanted to say back. Great question. You said it was messy. It was beautiful. Thank you so much, you guys, for doing this, for giving us your time and your vulnerability and your questions. This was so fun. We are so doing this again. This is a blast. Thank you. Do we put now what do we do?